Welcome back, all you Deadites, to episode 7 of season 2 of the podcast. Me and Mike are going to go over this week football kind of expectations moving forward for my boys, as always. But of course, we just wanted to thank you and welcome you back to another episode of the podcast. Again, always catch us on pretty much any social media: YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, you name it, we got it. Twitter as well. And feel free to always stop by the Twitch as well, twitch.tv/FlexLuther. Thank you, guys.
This is Chase Edmonds here, running back, Arizona Cardinals, number 29. Shout out to Flex Luther's Dead Zone. Heard you're a big Red Sea guy. Heard you're a big Cardinals fan. Make sure y'all go check out his podcast on Podbean. Again, it's Flex Luther's Dead Zone. Thank you and go Cards.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Dead Zone Podcast, featuring Flex Luther and the Real Hadouken. Buckle up, motherfuckers.
Oh my god, it's the Meme Daddy!
Hi, Mike. I love you. My sigh is not for me this week. It is for you, but I love you nonetheless. Have you recovered okay? I had quite a slew of pictures sent to me by you due to a certain game that happened this weekend. So, you okay? You okay?
Bounce back. You see it happen. You see it happen. It was a very good game for the Bengals.
You know,
but it's okay. We're gonna bounce back. Your boys look really good. Your boys look very good.
I appreciate it. I said this a couple weeks ago. I think it was when you were kidnapped by volleyball players. When do we start looking at the Bengals like they may be a legitimate team? I hate to say that. I do. But when do we your boys have been going strong, you know? But
they've been squeaking by. They've been squeaking by. They've been finding ways to win. You know what I mean? They've been finding ways to win in the last.
But against some good teams.
Oh yeah.
So we'll get more to that one. Unfortunately, we'll have to get back to that one. I do appreciate it though. Yeah, my boys are still undefeated. No big deal. No big deal. None whatsoever. But interesting, fun kind of week in football here. There was some crazy games. Some almost upsets I thought that were going to go a different way. And then some pretty typical fashioned losses by teams that we know and love or don't love. Why don't we jump right into it with Thursday night's game that netted somebody $1.2 million. And that's a fact. I saw this dude all over social media. He had a bet placed. All he needed was the Browns to win, and he pulled that one off barely. But Browns pulling a win out against the Broncos Thursday night, primetime football. I think we can now officially say, after that 3-0 start from the Broncos, that it's the same old Broncos. Would that be a fair assessment in your opinion?
Yeah. I would say so, because it was a very close game, and the thing is, the Browns were out their star quarterback, they're out a couple of receivers, they're out all of their running backs, all of their mega running backs, and still were able to get the win. So I think you're right, 100%.
I think the Broncos win that game. It still isn't a testament if they're a good team or not, because just like you said, I mean, the Browns are just absolutely battered. And honestly, I know we do our typical Teddy shout out since we're on the Broncos, but a little shout out to another guy that we haven't heard his name in a while, Mr. Minneapolis Miracle, Case Keenum, which we talked about recently.
Don't take this away from him, folks. They tried to say it was Kirk.
I was gonna say we were just talking about that, and lo and behold, he shows up. And honestly, doesn't have a huge game by any means, but was steady enough. Case going 21 for 33, 199 yards and a touchdown. Old Minnesota favorite. So, he did what a backup quarterback should do, in my opinion. I don't.
But he looked good. He looked good.
I'll say the first quarter, that especially those first couple of drives, he didn't look bad. I mean, he was definitely making smart moves. I think the Broncos, really their defense being their strength, did not show up against a very battered and bruised Browns offense with multiple backups in. And I know I usually try not to write teams off too early in the season, and just a little under halfway through the season, some might say that's not too early, but we've seen big comebacks and turnarounds before. I think it's safe to say that the Broncos, they are who we thought they were. I mean, I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment.
That's a fair assessment.
They had a very
good for you, Teddy, but that's a fair assessment.
Yeah. Also, as per usual, Teddy going 23 for 33, 187, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. Good for you, Teddy. Good for you.
Good for you, Teddy.
Good for you. Of course, we got to give you the love. Melvin Gordon showing that the Los Angeles lightning bolts, that the Chargers may have been, in hindsight, smart. I don't say that often. I'm not a big fan of not the franchise or the players, but more so the ownership of that team. Not a big fan of. But maybe they saw Melvin going down, because honestly, I haven't seen the Melvin Gordon of yesteryear in a long time. Honestly, I mean, Teddy took 2 runs for 3 yards and was only 15 yards less than their second running back, and Javonte Williams 4 for 20. I mean, there's just nothing in that backfield. Cortland Sutton still showing that he is clearly the definitive receiver there, and I do think, from what I've seen of him over the last couple years now, he could definitely benefit going to a better team. But he is definitely a star for that Broncos offense. Nothing really special about this game. The Browns shouldn't have won. no matter how bad the Broncos might have played, the Browns still shouldn't have won. But much like we discussed with your Ravens, they kind of eked a win out there and played just solid football to find a way to win. So Browns going 4-3 now. I mean, still potentially. I mean, as long as everybody comes back healthy, potentially still playoff team. I definitely don't think by any means we can count them out. I think it's going to be how they respond to the injuries. And if they decide they want to finally upgrade from Baker to a good quarterback, because I still think it ain't him.
So as a football fan, I should probably not count anyone out unless they're the Jets or
Correct.
the Jaguars or
Correct.
the Lions, but
Or the
as
Washington
a football fan,
team.
or the Washington football. Yeah. Otherwise, I shouldn't actually count anybody out because you've seen cases of like the 07 Giants. They were they squeaked
Correct.
by, got into the playoffs. I think
Yep.
they were like 9-7 or 10-6 or something.
We can even refer to my Cardinals when they made their Super Bowl run, because honestly, their regular season wasn't that good. But that's also a testament to how weak the division was at the time. Is that with a barely, I think they had like almost an even record or a barely winning record just to get into the playoffs.
And they won.
I mean, they won through the playoffs, but then lost in the Super Bowl. Thank you for.
But they made it.
They did make it all the way. So,
so you can't really count. That's as a football fan, I won't count anybody else. Just
I think I count the
Cardinals
out,
the Giants, and I mean, come on, man, my Ravens. They won in 2000, but Trent Dilfer is one of the worst quarterbacks in history.
Yeah, so, he is like the worst Super Bowl quarterback in history, which I like to remind everybody that he's not good.
That defense carried them all year. I think they allowed under 1,000 rushing yards all year.
Well, and when you have an offensive line like you did that year too.
It's just nasty. You can make anybody look good. Trent Dilfer, Pee Wee Herman, Mike Lee, Josh Paulson, anybody behind that line would look really fucking good.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean you're right. You can't count people out, but I think a fair assessment to the Broncos is they would be one of the first teams on the. I mean, they're right there with the Jets and stuff, where it's pretty clear cut that still isn't a unit that's ready to perform because they don't know what they're doing at quarterback, and they haven't for some time. And we've even discussed about Elway's involvement in that and how they need to really take that away from him and things of that nature. But I still think the Browns have playoff potential. Like I said, it all depends on how they rebound from all the injuries. So,
agreed.
This is starting. I mean, and this is no shot at the Titans. They're a pretty legitimate franchise when you have the number one running back in the NFL on your team. But this next game, I don't know what's going on anymore.
It's been a bonkers year, my man.
It has been, but for us. Kansas City Chiefs, it's been a real bonkers year, especially after the last couple of years that they've had. Losing to the Titans. And again, Titans, legitimate franchise at this point. I mean, they have a great defense. They've got the number one running back in their backfield. They've got a journeyman quarterback that can handle it. He's not the best by any means, but he knows how to get the job done. And when we do talk about quarterbacks in this game, we get to actually get a nice chuckle. Someone's just trying to do all the work. But yeah, the Titans beating out the Chiefs pretty hefty too, 27-3 for such an explosive offense that the Chiefs have. It's so crazy what's going on. I keep hearing, Mahomes has been exposed, this, that, and the other. Now it's Andy Reid. A couple years ago, we were praising the guy as being one of the greatest head coaches ever, and now you want to say that he's the problem. And I mean, they're jumping down to Patrick Mahomes' brother being a problem. It's like, I don't know what happened. The Bucs just beat the fucking brakes off the Chiefs so bad that they got an RG3 career, man. I mean, like, I don't know what happened. They just don't look good.
It's not like anybody's hurt. Like, Patrick Mahomes is healthy. Travis Kelce's healthy. Tyreek Hill is healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They even picked up Josh Gordon. So I'm not entirely sure either. And there's this there's this debate that goes around all over the internet, newspapers, magazines, whatever. It's this aura that you get from being such a high caliber team, right? Being a Super Bowl winning team, that every other team in the league then makes a game plan around you, how to play against you. And I really think that the Chiefs just sticking to the same old game plan and the same old plays, and being a high-powered offense, people know how to play against them. And then if they don't change their game plan, like Mahomes is a very talented quarterback, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't think anybody's taking that away from him.
Nobody's going to take that away from him. But the thing is, he's very good at a lot of things, but they've had enough time to analyze his game, in that he hasn't brought anything new to the table.
He really hasn't.
He really has not.
And maybe that's from stale play calling. And maybe they can still say that that's on the offensive line. I mean, when do we start looking at their backfield too, and just looking at the lack of running back they've had in the last couple of years? I think there's some mechanics that really show that one person or two or three people can't specifically do the whole thing. The Cardinals, they're saying when I hear people talk, it's like a powerhouse. So they've got this, that, the other. They've just added this, but it's because they're just trying to fill every spot, and I can respect that. But where the Chiefs fail to grow, I think, is maybe it is some stale play calling and things of that nature. But I think it's that they're just relying on the same three people to get the job done. Their backfield has never been any. I mean, the last Chiefs running back that I truly remember that was of any discussion as talented, and I'm sure we're thinking the same person here, Priest Holmes. I mean, what other Chiefs running back since, and he was a fucking monster, but what Chiefs running back can you say was notable since? Not had a one-off year where they did pretty good or really well even, but was consistent.
Priest, obviously,
God
is going to top that list. Mm-hmm. And then Jamal Charles wasn't a 1 year thing. He was a few years.
I'll give you that. Jamal Charles did have but that's because I think that's more so when Andy came in and started using him as a dual threat back.
Yep.
Because he was very evasive out of the backfield, whether he was catching or running it. And I think, and I'll give you that. You're right. He was very talented, but then they shipped him off.
They did. Yep.
So, and that's mainly because the consistency started to slip.
Marcus Allen too as well, obviously. But I mean, that's
agreed.
But that's so long ago, right?
Again, we're talking within the last even 5 years of this actual team being built and put together. And they just haven't had a dependable running back that was willing to step up and do what needed to be done.
And that speaks volumes. And I'm 100% agreeing with you that those three people, like the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, everybody, the whole league has had enough time and enough footage to build their game around those three guys, right? And unless anybody steps up, unless they improve their backfield, unless they bring new plays in, right? There's a lot of factors in there, but they can't expect to be the same old Chiefs just whipping the ball down the field, because everybody knows what you're going to do now, right?
Yeah,
it's not working.
They're expecting it, and even if the talent's there, it's still manageable on a defensive scale when you're only looking at certain things. Right. But on the Titans side of the ball, they just keep getting the fucking job done. Tannehill, 21 for 27, 270, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Not unheard of for him. And then Derrick Henry deciding he wants to not just be the best back in the NFL, but take a crack at being quarterback, 1 for 1 for 5 yards and a touchdown.
God damn.
Yeah, while also doing 29 carries for 86 yards, 0 touchdowns there. So held a little bit in the actual backfield with comparative numbers. Only 2 for 16 on receiving out of the backfield as well. So they did a decent job containing him. I think this really boiled down to the fact that Mahomes couldn't get a touchdown to save his life, and is on just an absolute tear of interception streak that he's been on. So, I don't want to. I mean, A.J. Brown had a great game. I don't want to take any of. I mean, most of Tannehill's yards essentially went to him, 8 for 133 yards and a touchdown. Outside of that, though, I mean, it was pretty typical fashion Jets offense. Dink and dunk plays to a lot of different players, kind of mixing up formations and things like that. Titans have a formula too. The problem is they filled those gaps and didn't just try to rely on one person. Do I think Tannehill is one of the best quarterbacks ever? Absolutely not. Is he an absolute journeyman that they know that maybe he shouldn't have been one, but just due to the way his career path took, there they are at this point, and they'd rather have a quarterback that can maintain than maybe be explosive because they've already got so many pieces in work. And a great defense to boot too. So interesting that the Chiefs are just getting slaughtered out there. Moving on to the Packers Washington football team game. I'm not really gonna dwell too much on this. I mean, the Packers are 6-1, one of the top contenders in the NFC currently, and going against a now 2-5 team. Their defense is good, but their defense isn't great right now. It's getting shit on, and I don't take that away from the talent. Rivera, obviously a very defensive mind, but when your defense is on the field most of the game, I can't expect them to be dominant the whole time. Again, I think this is a team we can safely say and put into that, F tier category. If you're not even coming close to the playoffs, once again, we can call it a rebuilding year.
Yeah, and that's tough. It's a tough break for them too, especially with what Alex Smith did for them last year too, as well, with his little comeback year.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't have much to say. Bad team versus
really,
a good team.
Yep, I really don't either. Rodgers looked like Rodgers, 27-35, 274, 3 touchdowns. Aaron Jones, I have noticed the decline in the backfield right now. I'm curious how that kind of is going to pan out. But I mean, when you got your receivers doing what they do with Rodgers, who gives a shit, really? What's up, Mums? It's the sports segment. Well, it is the podcast. We usually just cover football, but I mean, there are other topics we may or may not get into tonight. I think we're going to just keep it to football. Hadouken here has a little bit of a schedule to keep, so
howdy there, Mums.
We're gonna be covering football here tonight and talking about the boys as usual. Yeah, I mean, that's all I got for that game. 24-10 Packers looking like the Packers after that week 1 beat by the Saints. Rodgers once again just telling everybody to calm the fuck down and chill, and he took care of it. Buddy, I'm sorry. Moving on to the next game, Bengals-Ravens, and we kind of alluded a little bit earlier to this as well.
They played a hell of a game. The Bengals played a hell of a game. It was a statement game for them.
It really was, and like I said, I was just from earlier. I was uploading finally, and I'll be much better at keeping it week to week updates. Getting the podcast out on all of the podcast platforms and stuff, and I was just kind of listening to some of it while I was editing it. And one of them, like I said, was when I think it was just me in week 3, and I said, when do we look at the Bengals and say maybe this could be a legitimate team? And I said, you can't do it 3 weeks into the season. Well, now we're 7, a little under half. Yes, your team is beat up, but we can't use that as a crutch when we've also used that as reasons why they're so good. That they've been beat up, but like you said, found a way to win. That shows some sort of testament of talent there. So I can't use that same excuse on the reverse side and say, well, they lost to the Bengals because the Ravens are beat up. The Bengals just played really good. Burrow having a fucking day. Mixon showing up when he needed to. Pirine, really, I think his touchdown wasn't a game. I don't think that was the dagger per se. I think the game was over at that point, but that last touchdown was any and all air coming out that tire that you guys may have had any sort of energy to try to finish this game out. But I mean, both looking good, combining for about 111 yards, I think, 2 touchdowns. Not a bad day. Jamar Chase, I mean, I think this Burrow Chase is what's really making this Bengals offense click so well.
College teammates, man. College teammates.
Yeah, I mean, 8 for 201 yards and a touchdown. Jamar Chase just absolutely dominating the field. But here's the thing is none of his other receivers really were slouching either. Uzoma, 3 for 91. Higgins, 7 for 62. And Tyler Boyd, 4 for 39. I mean, they by no means do I feel like they were slacking. And P. Ryan, 1 for 23. That offense is just clicking, I think. And I Mixon has always been, I mean, especially fantasy-wise, Mixon has been kind of hit or miss for me over the years. He's never been a bad running back, but he's never put up consistent wow factor numbers. He's been steady this year. Steady enough to be in a top 5 rushing yards category so far. And I think if they can keep using Samaje Perine the way they are, I think that could be a dangerous duo backfield too. Now, I don't think it's going to be a Chubbs and Hunt type of backfield. I don't think we'll ever get to see that other than when we saw Ingram and Kamara on the Saints. I think that's the only other time in recent history I've seen a duo back that is just so fucking dangerous. But Mixon and P. Ryan do look good together. It's a good mix-up, third down back type situation. Why don't you talk about the Ravens, bud? I don't know what to say. I mean, they at times looked like they were clicking, and at times looked like they weren't.
So coming out of the half, the Ravens actually. That fucking drive coming out of the half was actually disgusting.
Absolutely.
And that catch by Brown in the end zone was fucking beautiful. And they took the lead. But right after that, they were gassed. They had nothing left in the tank, man. Their defense was just playing atrocious. They challenged everybody but Marlon Humphrey. The one time they challenged Marlon Humphrey, which is probably the only starter playing right now. Yeah, because everybody else is fucking. Everybody's ACL is torn. Yep. When they did challenge him, he threw a pick. But outside of that, our entire defense. I'm a big Ravens fan, you know that. So I was watching post game interviews, and all the defense, everything that they had to say was, I had no energy left. Like I was gassed. I had nothing left in the tank, and they don't have anybody to replace. Like they literally can't sit out. They can't pull anybody.
It's an absolute limited roster right now with
very
the injuries
limited.
You guys have had to take. And like I said, there were sparks of like I thought, oh shit, this could be like a comeback situation. I thought, especially second, and then like you said, coming into the third there, I thought, okay, well here's where the Ravens make their comeback, and then right after that, it just seemed like you said, everybody was just gassed. There was you could see it too if you. I mean, I watched a lot of that game. I had it up in Discord. Even though I wasn't even in Discord, I was watching it on my phone upstairs, but I just, in case anybody wanted to watch it. But
all their DBs could not keep up. They were gone, dude.
Yeah.
Their legs are giving out. They're done. And so just like the many weeks that we saw before, right? Ravens coming back in the fourth quarter, Ravens coming back in the second half. Bengals just played a hell of a game, and I give it to them. Good for them.
And that's a rough one with it being a divisional game for you guys now, both being 5-2. I mean, I still don't think you have to worry about the Pittsburgh bathroom stalls. And,
absolutely not.
Who else is in your guys' division? It's the
Browns.
The Browns. I think, especially I think with you and the Browns in the similar position of damaged goods almost. I think you guys stand a better chance with talent, especially with Lamar behind center. So I mean, they're looming. I don't want to say don't worry about them, but I personally think this game right here is your biggest game. And that's the Bengals. I think we might actually be able to say they're serious contenders. So rough beat, but hey, we bounce back next week. Who do you guys got next week? You guys are taking on
the
Vikings. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll see that it's Sunday. It's a noon game, so you and I might have to pop in Discord and watch that together because that'll be interesting.
Absolutely.
But then you guys got the Dolphins after that, and the Bears. I think confidently, even with injuries, you guys should be able to do that. I think when you guys come back after the Browns and do your 3 divisional games, I think you need to run that. You need to run that, even if you lose to the Bengals again. The Bengals, I mean, again, we can't say for sure. They aren't by any means, in my opinion, a bad team.
No, absolutely not. I actually think they're a pretty good team.
But their schedule definitely has been a little lenient for them.
Oh, very.
The Vikings game, the Vikings can be hit or miss. They're a contender in a sense that they have the talent, so you can never count them out. But they beat the Vikings, so that's a decent team. Beat the Bears, I think the Bears are trash. Beat the Steelers are trash. Beat the Jags are trash. Lost to the Packers barely. Packers NFC, one of the top leaders. So that's not like a bad beat. Absolutely decimate the Lions. That game against the Lions was one of the few times where, like, I've tried to give a lot of credit to the Lions. They've taken some bad beats, and there's a lot of talent. The coach is doing some really imaginative things to try to get that team going. And I don't think their record reflects what they really are, but absolutely one of those games where the Bengals were like, nah, Lions, you are who we thought you were, and decimated them, and then come back and have a huge game against you. Now, they get the Jets next, Browns, Raiders might be the next real test, because again, we'll get to the Raiders as well, but I think we can kind of start to say that the Bengals might be emerging as your new competitor in the division there.
I think so. I think so. It used to always just be Ravens Steelers, Ravens bathroom stalls, Ravens versus the bathroom stalls.
Yep.
But I think the Bengals are most definitely emerging, and they'll be the one contender team in our division. So we'll see.
I agree. We're gonna go real quick through this next game because I'm gonna start talking mad shit about the Panthers. But the Giants beating the Panthers 25-3, finding their second win. And honestly, Sam Darnold, you also are who we thought you were without Dan Arnold on the team. Because you've been playing absolute hot fucking trash.
Just absolute garbage. But
now, hear me out. Your backup definitely made sure that you're going to be starting here. Going 3 for 14 and 33 yards. Darnold just, I don't know, maybe he was overhyped. I think I've seen talent in him. I think the Jets may have absolutely ruined his career, though. I don't know. I think the Panthers also are a little bit of a shell game. They have talent. They just apparently don't have talent either. And God, I hate to say this, Daniel Jones had a decent game.
Did you see the Daniel Jones one hand? It was Daniel Beckham Jr.
Yeah, 100%. The man, I can't lie, at least went out and got a nasty one-handed catch, 1 for 16. It's funny because I saw it on this, I think it's called Trap House Sports. It's like a TikTok where this dude just roasts the fucking NFL, and it's great. And he's like, D Jones just fucking goes off about him, but then started talking about how this man got more handles as a receiver than fucking Sam Darnold has talent in general in football. I was like, ooh, buddy. Yeah, I'm not going to spend time on this game. The Giants are still bad, and I think the Panthers are getting exposed as not great either. Which leads me into my next game, which also I could give two shits about, which is the Falcons versus the Dolphins. Falcons, again, just barely squeaking a win out against a bad team, which that's really where their 3 wins come from this season. And then the Dolphins being the Dolphins, 1-6. I mean, these are just two bad franchises that if you put the games together, I mean, Tua didn't have a bad game. 32 for 40, 291, 4 touchdowns. He did have 2 interceptions, which doesn't help. Myles Gaskin, 15 for 67. It's just, is there anything you want to speculate about either of these two fucking franchises?
No, two bad teams. But the only thing that I can actually, a very interesting thing that I can mention about the Dolphins is that we were talking about Mr. Deshaun Watson himself last week. He has a no-trade clause, and the only team that he actually is willing to go to is the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, I heard a little something about that, and I also heard that they might seriously be looking into him. I know when that conversation happened way in the beginning when Deshaun first started to say he wanted to be out and, he had the trade clause and everything, Miami was definitely interested. So it'll be interesting to keep your eye on that situation and kind of see how it pans out, because wherever Deshaun lands, it's an immediate, if he plays, is an immediate upgrade of talent for quarterback. Yeah, fuck them. Fuck both those teams. I don't like either of them. They're both bad. And the Dolphins just showing that they're even worse. So moving on to another shit franchise versus a very disheveled franchise. Jets, Patriots. Patriots putting on a fucking ass whooping on these kids. Oh my god.
Jeez Louise.
I mean, you make me think that the Patriots are a good team almost. I don't believe it, but almost make me feel like they are. But then again, it's the Jets, and the Jets are awful. So
do you see the Jets QB after they sat Wilson out? Do you see the Jets QB? Should he actually be playing for the
Patriots? Yeah, Mike White, 20 for 32, 202 yards, 1 touchdown,
only
2
because of his
interceptions. Absolutely, Bill Belichick was like, I'm going to go send a videotape to TMZ, get this man freed up from that contract. I'm going to need him over here ASAP. I mean, yeah, Zach Wilson just ain't it. And I have no problem that they decided, fuck it, we'll try Mike out. I mean, it's the Jets. They're a bad franchise, and the Patriots should be beating them. But, I mean, the Patriots did have a game. I can't lie. Mac Jones looking good, 24 for 36, 307 yards, 2 touchdowns.
They made this shit look like a Madden game.
He did, and he really just hit fucking 10, 12, 13 receivers. I mean, it was just absurd. 11 receivers, I think. I just, it helps that the defense had multiple interceptions and things of that nature. But Patriots taking the win. It is what it is. Jets are a bad team, and the Patriots showed up that day to make sure that they could at least try to beat a very bad team, and to notoriously have a mixed record with the Jets, which this one I don't think showed any of that type of history. But yeah, I got nothing more for those guys either. Eagles, Raiders. This actually was an interesting game to me, just to see how the Raiders were going to really respond with the no Gruden situation. And yes, the Eagles are bad, but I thought they looked good. I thought that
they just didn't look terrible.
I'll say that. They definitely looked like they were having fun.
Yeah.
Like there was less tension on the sideline. They seemed very upbeat. Derek Carr actually having a pretty decent game. He did end up throwing an interception, but going 31 for 34, 323 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not
31 to 34. That's nasty.
Yeah, I mean, by no means have I ever shat, if you would, on Derek Carr. I don't think he's a top elite quarterback, but I've never thought he was awful. And obviously, like we've both stated many, many times, leaps and fucking bounds better than his brother.
Oh, yeah.
My boy Kenyon Drake. I don't even know why I give so much love to Kenyon Drake. It wasn't like he was a Cardinal forever, but, he came through. So, my boy Kenyon Drake. Doing pretty decent. Yards? 14 for 69. Nice. And a touchdown. And then Joshua Jacobs, 6 for 29, a little goal line there. I mean, the Raiders, I've said it up, down, left, and right. I've thought the Raiders were a decent team the last couple of years. Well, this year and last year, really. But it was interesting. It's just been interesting to see how they respond. I mean, even against now 2-5 Eagles, at any point they could have been 3-4 because you lose your coach, the media is all over you. That can severely impact how things are going to play out for your team. And then, like I said, losing your coach, I mean, that's not an easy task to just handle. So it seems that people have been stepping up, doing their job. And they're going to keep that train rolling. They want to get the wins, and Vegas is kind of depending on the Raiders to be somewhat decent since they moved there, because that was a huge pull, especially in the gambling community. Anything about this game that you wanted to touch on?
No, good for them. They won this game. They won their game last week too. The last week was like the big game right after losing Chucky too as well. So good for them, good for them.
And I think, like I stated earlier, with the Bengals' next real test being the Raiders, I think that's truly the Raiders' next big game too. Now, here's the thing. They play the Giants next week. That should be an easy win. I don't foresee the Giants getting 2 wins back to back. Now, the Chiefs-Raiders game, the reason I'm pretty confident, not just because of what we discussed earlier with the Chiefs, but the Raiders have actually been notorious for keeping up or beating the Chiefs while they were in their prime in the last couple years. So I personally think with how the Chiefs have been playing, the Raiders would be the team that I could say, yeah, they got them figured out and should win that game, in my opinion. I think the Bengals might be their next test. And then they have the Cowboys after that, which is a rough team to play. And then they kind of get to calm down with some easy walks for a bit. But we'll see. Why I think especially that Bengals game, we'll find out. Honestly, I don't give a fuck about the Eagles. They're a bad franchise. They can keep losing. Hey, before we jump to the Lions-Rams game, you wanna do me a favor?
Oh man, you asked me to do that. How about
I was gonna, right? But then you trolled me with the same fucking thing 30 times today.
Go, got it.
Yep.
Yep. Dead Zone listeners, if you can name that song, you get a kiss on the lips. Those are the exact lyrics too, as well.
Fuck it. You trolled me. So, okay, I'm gonna hit the button for you. Go ahead.
Desire. Temptation. Penis. You trying to spice it up in the bedroom? Go and check out the selection over at Victor's Secret. While supplies last, Victor's Secret is doing a 2-for-1 on crotchless man thongs, now available in your preference of lace or silk. Why shop at Victor's Secret? Because Victor knows these hoes. Enter Dead Zone during checkout for a whopping 69% off your purchase. Nice. Come on, man! You gotta hit the second button too. You hit the other button. Otherwise, I'm gonna hit it, and otherwise I'm gonna hit it for you.
Oh, you need me to hit the other one for you?
You gotta hit the other button too, man.
All right, hold on, let me hit it.
Hit the other button too.
Oh shit! I think that's the right one. I think that's right. You should be. Yeah, it should be good.
Last but not least, Flex Luthor's Dead Zone podcast is brought to you by all of us, our free time, and our disposable income. Because we really have no sponsors. Please give us your money.
Man, that's crazy, man. That last one, that last button. Maybe I misheard that last one. We don't have any sponsors. What are we pushing these buttons for?
We're legally obligated.
We're legally obligated. Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I was actually listening to that second sponsorship, and I was like, I caught a little bit of the Victor's one, because 69% off. I mean, nice.
I mean, what a fucking
Right.
deal. Come on.
Nice. So, but then I listened to the second. But you're right. We're legally obligated to play both. So, okay.
We have to.
Okay. So we're moving on to the Lions-Rams game. I mean, Lions actually didn't look awful the first half in this game, but the Rams really turning it on and shutting it down. There was a fun little altercation in this game. God, who was it? It was I want to say it was Donald. It was Aaron Donald and somebody else. And I don't remember who. It was an offensive lineman for the Lions, but Donald getting into his face, and then this guy just kind of getting right back in his, and Donald grabs his face mask and kind of like gives him the pull down like, you're going to listen to me, and he grabbed his right back and said, "No, motherfucker, I'm not." And there was no real altercation or fight or anything. I mean, obviously people came rushing in thinking there might be a fight, but I think it was a stand ground for respect. I actually really enjoyed that about this. But Rams, I mean, showing again as well that they're one of the top leaders in the NFC with a 6-1 record now. Yes, it's against the Lions, who are 0-7, but consistency. I mean, Stafford, 28 for 41, 334, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Cooper Kupp being just exactly who we think Cooper Kupp always should play, or should be and play like.
They didn't dominate them. Up until the fourth quarter, I think the Lions were leading up until the fourth quarter. So they had every opportunity to take this game, and we were talking about it too as well. It would have been a hell of a game for the Lions if they beat the Rams.
What a sign that would have been for Goff to sit there and look at his old coach Sean McVay and say, "Yeah, you bitch, our first win. We just waited for you." And then, the Lions also looking at Stafford like, "Yeah, we planned this. We just waited to play you so we could beat you." But no, they did what they do best, and really shit the bed in the fourth quarter. And the Rams came back to win it 28-19. I mean, the Rams look good. There's no way, ifs, ands, or buts, that you can really argue it. The offense is looking clean. I mean, really, they were missing a high-impact quarterback. And their defense is their defense, one of the best defenses in the NFL. So, I mean, I will say the Rams have had, in my opinion, a little bit of a squishy schedule. They played the Broncos, who they did lose to, or that was preseason. They played the Bears week 1. Bears are trash. They played the Colts, did barely squeak a win by, but the Colts do and can be known to have great defense within the last couple years. They beat the Bucs. That was a huge game. Clearly, they lost to the more superior team in the NFC West. And then went again to just dominate teams. I mean, they're close to averaging 30 points a game offense. That's pretty good. I mean, that's up there with my Cardinals, and they have a top 3 defense, in my opinion. They have one of the smartest head coaches, in my opinion, in the NFL, who is just an astonishing record of the leading by half thing. But also, to make that point, this year they've done a really good job of coming back in the fourth quarter. Because like you said, the Rams led most of that game, and they're not notorious for winning games that they're down at half by. But they've done this a few times this season now, where they've turned it around and absolutely come back, and I think that's what Stafford brings to that offense. He is known for those comeback drives. So, I mean, we'll see. Even moving forward, they play the Texans next week, which should be an easy walk. They do play the Titans. That'll be interesting to see how they respond there. They should trounce the 49ers. And then I think after that, their next big game again is going to be the Packers. So pretty much every other week for the Rams for a bit, it's going to be a good team that they're going to have to play. So maybe not so squishy in the second half of the season there. A couple easy wins that they should pull off. But, I think the Lions are clearly seeing that Jared Goff is exactly who Sean McVay wanted to get rid of. He just doesn't look good. He doesn't. And no matter the talent you put around him, Khalif Raymond had a good game, 6 for 115 yards. That's not bad. DeAndre Swift, 8 for 96 and a touchdown. I mean, it's not like he can't produce. It's just he makes too many errors and mistakes. And I don't think that he's going to be the one that, if Stafford couldn't turn that fucking team around with Megatron, I don't think that Goff with a bunch of nobodies is going to. So
absolutely not.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one here, the Bucks versus the Bears. This will, again, be a pretty easy talk and discussion here. The reigning Super Bowl champs absolutely shitting on the Chicago Bears, who are now 3-4, and Tampa 6-1, still showing dominance, obviously, like I said, as a returning Super Bowl champions. I mean, it wasn't by any means. I think the biggest thing about this game had nothing to do with really the teams. More so, it had to do with Brady throwing his 600th touchdown, which is just an absolute crazy number to think about when you think about records.
Funny what happened with the ball.
Yeah, you want to tell him about it?
Oh, you got it. You got it, fam.
So,
you tell him about Mike Evans.
So Mike Evans took the touchdown, ran it up to one of the fans and gave it to him, not realizing that was Brady's 600th touchdown throw. And they ended up, once they kind of figured out what was going on, they ended up having somebody to go talk to the fan and essentially negotiate for the ball back. And from what I saw, he ended up getting 2 home game season tickets or something like that for this year and next year, or 2 years worth of home game season tickets this year and next year or something. He got like $1,000 in the store credit for the stadium. He really got like a shit deal considering what that ball is and how much that ball would actually be worth.
It was valued at, I think, $500,000.
Now, I will say this, on the Manning cast, which is the Manning Brothers podcast, Tom Brady was recently on it, talked about it, and I will give Brady 100% of this credit. He could have done better, but still, I mean, the dude gave the ball away, which means you have no more negotiating rights. Whatever you've agreed upon is what you've agreed upon. You don't get anything else. Brady realizing that and openly saying that this guy was not a great negotiator, knowing that ball was going to go for something, also told him after everything was said and done, he was going to give him 1 Bitcoin. So right now that's valued about $64,000. That just at least upped it a little bit for the fact that he was willing to get that back, you know? Could he have done better? Absolutely. I mean, he could have been like, yeah, I want Tom Brady to give me $500,000 right now, and he can have this fucking ball. Other than that, over my dead body. But hey, not everybody's a negotiator, so
I want Tom Brady to eat my ass.
Well, he
with no $500,000. I just want him to
just eat the booty. Yep.
Eat the booty.
But I mean, I think that was the most interesting part of this game was Tom Brady making that record. I mean, I can't even say, usually my go-to joke here is that you're old and you've been in the league forever, you're bound to. But I mean, he's played at a high caliber rate almost the entirety of his career. And people could say, well, he was carried by good offense, carried by good defense, carried by good. The man literally left his franchise dynasty team and won a fucking Super Bowl the next year with another one. Now, again, everybody can argue, well, they had a great defense. They brought in all this talent to fill. Well, okay. Go ask the Chiefs why they can't win. It isn't just Mahomes, but it isn't also just Hill and Kelsey. They brought in talent to fill all gaps and did what they could with contracting to make sure that people made the team. You know what the Cardinals did?
I have such
the
a
same
big
thing.
Take on this.
Feel free.
Take on this.
Feel free.
Guess who's getting paid much more than Tom Brady?
Like 10 other quarterbacks.
10 other Jared Goff is one of them. He's getting paid a stupid amount more money. You want to know why Tom Brady is one of the best quarterbacks of all time, if not the greatest, is because he is not afraid
to take a pay cut.
To take a pay cut
He
to
did
get
this.
the
He
right
did
guys
this
on
in
his
New
team.
England.
Yes, he absolutely did this in New England to get the right guys on his team so that they can get the win, so that they can play at a high caliber. That's probably one of the most unselfish things that you can do, just because you love the game and you love the team that you're on, right? That's the one thing that you got to respect Tom Brady on, is that he knows he's the best. He doesn't need to get paid the best money. He's just going to rub it in your face. I get paid less and still whoop your ass. So take it for a grain of salt, but you don't need to get paid the best money to be the best quarterback.
Well, and he was smart. I mean, Tom knows that the root of his money does not come from football. It comes from the T12 brand endorsement, workout facility, health, caretakers and shit that all work there.
Winning the goddamn Super Bowl.
Winning Super Bowls that make him valued at something. It puts a price on him as a human, which should sound awful when said, but when we talk about it in the world of sports specifically, it's a high honor. It no longer became about what Michael Jordan wore in this game or that game. It became what Michael Jordan owned in true ownership of a company. The deals that were getting made for Air Jordans, for the Jordan clothing line, for all of that shit. The residuals he's getting from Space Jam. He was smart. I mean, it's the same situation. Tom knows his money does not come from football. It comes from the legacy that you could create. If he's got to take a pay cut, and this I truly think, and I've thought this for a long time. I truly think that stems from Brady going into the Patriots when he got picked up, or when he got drafted, to a very just above mediocre team. They had talent, but it wasn't talent that had been solidified yet. It was talent that would be solidified over the next couple of years. Teddy Bruschi, like, just, you know what I'm saying? Like other than Tom Brady's that came out of that dynasty, but none of them, there was not like one name. You know who the name was when it started? Drew Bledsoe. That was the fucking name on the team. And that, I mean, like, no offense to Drew Bledsoe. I love him, but we talk about Tom Brady or that dynasty. How many people bring up Bledsoe?
Nobody.
Right, unless you were
I'm
there
a football
or knew
fan.
It. Yeah, no one brings up Bledsoe. And then that's the thing. He went to a very, in my opinion, average team at the time, a very above mediocre, but average team with a brilliant head coach and a team that was hungry and willing to listen to a head coach that went, I chose this team for a reason. And as long as you shut the fuck up and do exactly as what I say, it'll work. And boom, they had success. And that was before Brady. I mean, obviously, Bledsoe was the beginning of that. Brady took over after that injury, and it was, he never looked back. That was it. Brady was the man. I think that a little bit of that humbled him in the beginning, knowing that, you can take a bunch of good players. People might not realize they're great players yet. But if you guys all kind of are humble about it, willing to take a pay cut to keep those people, I mean, they didn't lose a single person. That really helped get them to that Super Bowl win last year. They made all the cuts necessary to keep all the people they needed.
Same starters. Old head team. Yep. Dominating.
And still dominating. I definitely, I mean, there's no question that's a playoff team, possible Super Bowl contender. They could easily fuck my Cardinals up at any point in time. But my Cardinals could also fuck them up at any point in time. We've seen the holes last year and this year where games were a little closer, tight knit than they should have been, or last year where they went on that like 5-6 game losing streak because they couldn't pull their heads out of their ass. We'll see if they can keep it going strong from the tail end of the last season where they really turned it around and came back, and have obviously done that this year. Really, their one loss was to another possible Super Bowl contender. So we'll see.
Take it all in, folks. Take it all in, because there's not going to be another Tom Brady for a very, very long time. Like
not
there's
in
not going
our
to be a Michael
lifetime.
Jordan. Not in our lifetime. And
No.
just like there's never going to be another Michael Jordan. Don't stop saying LeBron James. It's not the same.
It's not the same. I agree.
Not the same. So, folks, just take it in. Enjoy it while you can. Tom Brady's still playing at a very, very high caliber level. The only thing that can fucking beat him now is Eli Manning coming out of retirement, playing shitty football, and then somehow beating him always.
Always. I mean, let's get to my boys, you know?
They look good.
Let's get to my boys. So I will say this, the most of the first half, they did not look good. Really, right, I'd say about halfway through the second quarter, they picked it up. But Cardinals now still 7-0 undefeated, best team in the NFL, without question. 31-5. Now, it was against the Houston Texans team that clearly we've seen as super beat up. Problem is in the first quarter for sure, and about halfway through the second quarter, you couldn't have told me that this team was 1-6. Or you couldn't have told me that the Cardinals were 7-0. They started off very sloppy. Ended up getting the Texans ended up getting a safety on us in the first quarter. I don't think we got our center back. A couple botched snaps again, like the week prior I talked about. That was a big deal. Once again, Kyler's still able to fall on it and recover and make sure that we kept the ball. It was rough. I can't lie. I thought this was the tomato can that was going to beat us this week. But then, bam, that second half of the second quarter, we just came out firing. And then, third and fourth quarter, we just shut them down. They couldn't find an answer to us at that point. Kyler, 20 for 28, 261, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. My boy Chase Edmonds, number 2. 15 for 81. He knows about this podcast. He's the beginner guy in the podcast intro. We all know and love him. James Conner, 10 for 64 and a touchdown, and that touchdown was beautiful.
Gorgeous.
He has just been fitting in flawlessly with this offense. Him and Chase have been just an absolute beautiful combo in the backfield. Conner really running with force and power, and Edmonds looking a little bit more finesse.
I said it at the beginning of the year, didn't I? I called it. It's just the perfect fluid balance between a dual back system. It doesn't have to be this is your one amazing back and then everybody else is backup. You can have good dual backs just like they have not right now currently, but just like the Browns do in Cleveland.
Yep.
It works very well.
And I think Mixon and P. Ryan, I think Mixon's a very hard runner for his size, but P. Ryan's very agile because he's also kind of a tinier dude. So it's kind of that power and agility that they're willing to. Because I mean, here's the thing: Kareem Hunt can be a power runner. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah,
but he's finesse. When you compare, Chubbs has finesse too, but Chubbs will run a motherfucker over every time. Where Hunt kind of finds the seams, finds the holes, and he maneuvers out very well. He can throw a shoulder, trust me. But I think it's that agility and power kind of duo back system that we're seeing a lot of success with a couple teams now. I think this could be one of them. Again, Chase very agile. He can I wouldn't say he's a power runner, but James Conner running like a power runner. They love him in the end zone. His touchdown run was like a nice, I think it was like a 10-15 yarder, just fucking boom, 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 powering up through the middle gap there. And they're looking good. I do want to talk about Mr. Zach Ertz joining the team. First player in NFL history to have a touchdown in back-to-back games with 2 opposing teams.
And on National Tight End Day, so good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Beautiful big touchdown catch. Him going 3 for 66. AJ Green 3 for 66. If you'd have seen all 3, you'd know AJ Green is having a resurgent year. Absolutely looks fresh. And I don't say that biasly. Everything I've seen of him so far this season is very Fitzy reminiscent it's just eerie how he's that guy now. And I don't, that's not to take away any of AJ's accolades or talent when he was on a Bengals team that was bad. He absolutely was a talent there, but just with injuries, age, everything over the last couple of years with him in the Bengals, I was unsure of how he would respond with such a young, a lot of vitality with the team.
Really happy for you guys.
Yeah, he's just been at multiple touchdowns this year, big catches in big time when we needed it. He's just having an absolute year. And then, you've got, in my opinion, one of the top 3 best receivers this year in the league, DeAndre Hopkins. You got Nuke. And Christian Kirk playing slot receiver out of his mind, taking over Fitzy's position and really doing a good job in that slot receiver position. He's been shining this year. It's hard for me to sit here and keep trying to doubt that my team might crumble. They are just, again, it's against the Texans team, but we've seen them beat some decent teams. I mean, the Browns, yes, they were hurt, but they weren't all hurt. We hurt the rest of them. The Rams, the Vikings, granted, we could have lost that one and maybe even should have, but we didn't. And then,
thanks, Gary.
Yeah, and then the Titans, who are playoff bound for sure this year. So I mean, we've had good teams we've played. I think Thursday is going to be a true testament. Thursday is a big game for me. This is a Packers Cardinals that the last few games, including playoffs, have been some of the most entertaining football with either of these franchises throughout the last couple of years, in my opinion. We had the big playoff game against them where Fitzy gets the big catch in overtime and then the shovel pass to take it in and to beat them. I mean, we've also been beat by them in regular season games where it's been close and big like that as well. Thursday is going to be a big game. Also, it's a Sunday to Thursday game. It's an earlier start, a little off their usual 3:00 play time. But the fact that they played the Texans and had a little bit of an easy game after that first quarter and a half, I'm hoping that they're going to be charged and ready for Thursday's game. So we'll see how that goes. But I mean, they're looking good, bro. They're looking
real good.
Oof.
And you know what? It's not just on the offense. Like, your defense is looking tremendous. Mr. JJ Watt having a hell of a year.
Yeah,
in
absolutely.
Every single fucking play.
And Isaiah Simmons, he's been playing out of his mind. Buddha coming in here and there, and just, I mean, Buddha wasn't actually a big factor in this game, but I mean, is impactful being on the field. The fact that he's playing their part, and Isaiah Simmons also, I mean, everybody is playing their part. Jordan Hicks playing great. I mean, we got Chandler
Mr.
Jones.
Marcus Golden had a hell of a game too.
Yeah, absolute banger game. I think look good. Our defense is adjusting very well. I'm excited to see what we got. We got a kicker that's pretty flush, so I'm not worried about relying on him losing it on us at an end game situation. We replace a tight end who's having a great year with Zach Ertz, who comes out and just absolutely dominates the field. I think we're legit. I mean, I've been saying it cocky wise, but like truly, I think we might make a run at this year. And if any year is to do it, it's this year to do it. So
see you there, baby.
Yeah, I mean, oh god, that would be an absolutely interesting game. I'm gonna move on. As much as I could love talking about the Cardinals all day, it was still against the Texans, so I shouldn't have had much to talk about. But I'm gonna make do. I'm gonna move on to the Colts-Niners game, which once again, I mean, the Niners have been a fucking bad franchise since they went to a Super Bowl and lost it. Indianapolis, I don't know. I mean, Indianapolis to me is much like the Browns. I think there's talent there. I still don't like Wentz, but I don't hate him. I think he's definitely doing much better back under Frank Reich's eyes than he was with the Eagles, but I don't see it.
This was a tough game for all around. It was pouring. It was fucking pouring. It was a really tough game for all of them. It was real wet out there, moist, if you could say.
Moist.
But it was a really tough game all around. I'm not a Wentz fan either, but I stuck by to actually check out his post game interview, and the amount of confidence and loyalty that he has in his receivers is actually pretty commending. So, good for him. Good for him. He has a lot of really good things to say about all his receivers, so he trusts them, which is very good. But Wentz will always be Wentz. He had one MVP caliber year, and he's just not looked the same ever since.
I think Jonathan Taylor is the guy they want in the backfield, though.
That man's nasty.
I absolutely think they found something there. I mean, again, with the Colts, after what, Edgerrin James, who do we have? That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
But I think Jonathan Taylor is their guy. Absolutely versatile at the backfield. I like it. Pittman showing up this game, 4 for 105, and then Moali Cox, 3 for 25 and a touch. So not much on the yardage, but getting it where it counts. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't trust the Colts yet. I definitely don't like the Niners. So I would have gone Colts on this one if I had to choose. But, I mean, I don't like the Colts either. I don't predict that they're going to have anything extremely huge moving forward. They'll probably lose to the Titans. They'll probably beat the Jets. They'll struggle with the Jags, possibly lose to the Jags. They should get shit on by the Bills, the Bucks, and then they get the Texans and the Patriots. I mean, we see them on Christmas. We play them on Christmas. I get Cardinals on Christmas.
Well, hot damn.
I did not know that. That's awesome.
I did this.
You did this. Now? It's canon now.
It's canon now that I did this as a Christmas gift to you. You get Cardinals on Christmas.
That's the best Christmas gift I ever got in my life. I love you too. I gotta find a way to get your Ravens to the Super Bowl, but still lose to me. So at least I can say, well, at least you made it, bro.
I'll take it.
I'd take it. Honestly, if I lost to you, I'd take it too. I'd be like, dude, we lost to Lamar Jackson. That's fine by me. Although if we go undefeated all season, I'm sorry, I need you to take the hit for me. I want to be the undefeated Super Bowl champs.
We'll take the hit. Unless Lamar gets hurt and Eli Manning comes out of retirement to just be the fucking undefeated team slayer for some reason.
That's true. That's true. He'll stop the Manning cast with Peyton and be like, hold on, I got a prior engagement to take care of.
I gotta quickly play one good game in my life.
Hit one of 4 good games in his life.
Yep.
Because clearly he had to have one game for them to take him.
That's true.
Yeah, I don't know about the Colts, but I definitely know the Niners are shit. Which kind of brings me to the next game. I don't know if I trust the Saints either, even though their record isn't awful. Saints just barely beating out a very troubled Seattle Seahawks, 13-10 on Monday night. Winston 19 for 35, 222 and a touch, and Kamara 20 for 51. We haven't seen Kamara in a while, and I still say, I mean, I said it last year, I'll say it this year. I think he's a very talented player. By no means do I think he's bad. I think he was better because of Ingram being in the backfield and the way Ingram had been playing before they caught him on PEDs. I think he needs another back to help make. I mean, it's like the CMC situation. When you know it's going to go to him, you're just going to stack the box and try to hurt him. But here's the thing, is the one part he is still versatile in is he's still hands down one of the best receiving backs in the NFL. And he shows that 10 for 128 yards and a touchdown. I feel like it's a lot of Winston relying on checkdowns and quick screen outs.
Oh, yeah, 100%. He doesn't want to turn into Bucks Winston, right? He doesn't want to turn into Bucks Winston. He wants to keep that INT ratio low. I mean, it's just 1 week he's like, I'm Bucks Winston. Fucking 5 touchdowns, 5 interceptions.
Yep.
The next week he's like, man, I got to calm this shit down. I'll throw 1 TD, check down to my man Kamara all day.
Yep.
And I think you're 100%. Kamara is, he's extremely talented, but having that one strong power back gives him the ability, right, to be graceful, to be agile. He can't take that beat. He's right now they're using him like a CMC, right?
100%.
If they use him like a CMC,
let him run it, do whatever he can do to get in the end zone.
Right, and if they continue to do this, how long do you think he can keep it up? Right, that's fucking tough.
The first year you look at CMC's injury, the first year he got injured for a season, and you're like, that's a tough break. Then the second year, you're like, oh, is he injury prone? And then the third year, like, oh, he is. It's like, no, if you're a real football spectator of the game, when you're used that much, you're bound to break down. Kamara has had a lot of good footing in that sense where he had Ingram, his big year. And then after that, they were so pass heavy with Breeze that they used him more as a receiver than a running back once they realized that they kind of needed a second back for him because too many people were going to have their eyes on him like they do with CMC because they know that's where the offense is coming from. Now with Winston, of course we know where it's going to.
Yep.
It ain't
Breeze.
Breeze.
Who else is he going to go through?
Yeah, it ain't Breeze.
Who else is he going to throw to? Is he going to throw to Adam Troutman?
Right.
Juwan Johnson? I'm sorry, guys. You guys are talented receivers, but you guys aren't. No Drew Brees, Jimmy Graham
they do have Kenny Stills,
right?
And Ty Montgomery, but
it's not the same.
Old names with
absolutely not the same.
Much less talent than they had yesteryears. And then Kevin White, who's just getting scoped out by Bill Belichick to come to the fucking team.
So, and actually, you know what actually is a funny thing that I've noticed that when your boy, so we're talking about Kamara and he needs a back, right, for him to be able to excel. When your boy, Mr. Cheerleader, working in the stands, the water boy, does it all. When he is healthy and in the game, they have their playbook opens up so much more that Kamara actually is able to perform as a workhorse back, right? When Taysom Hill is in the game, they give him that ability because they don't know what the fuck they're gonna do with Taysom Hill, right? They can literally have him in the game and then just run out and throw some peanuts at somebody. So, but Taysom Hill
usher somebody to their seats. He might be He might be at the concession stand serving people. He might be signing people up for the military. He might be ushering somebody's car. He might be with Usher. We don't know what he's doing. He does everything. We don't know. And I don't think the Saints know what to do because he does everything.
And here's the thing, like without Taysom Hill, all of that part of the playbook closes up and you have Kamara doing it all. You have fucking whole team on his back, same way CMC does it. So, and they barely squeak by. You're right. I can't trust their record right now.
No.
So we'll see. We'll absolutely see what happens.
Yeah, I don't trust it. I don't like Jameis Winston. I think he has been faking his way through the NFL for a long time. And I don't trust that record. And it's against the Seahawks. One thing I will say is I heard a lot of conversation through sports media. Is it time for Pete Carroll to maybe go? I don't say I talk a lot of shit. I make fun of Pete Carroll and his gum chewing ways. I make fun of him that he had one of the best red zone running backs with 2 extra downs in a Super Bowl and decided to do screen pass that got picked to lose him. I make fun of him plenty. But one thing, and I can't believe I'm going to agree with this because the source of who I'm about to quote really usually gives me a fucking headache, but this is how I know hell's froze over. The voice of reason, Stephen A. Smith, kind of said it best.
Oh.
I know.
Mister.
I know. But he did kind of say it best. He was like, he's taken the Seahawks to the playoffs like 11 of 13 times, like 9 of 11 times or something like that. Last season he took them to a playoffs. The season prior to the playoffs, was 11 wins, 12 wins, 10 wins. I mean, it's not like he was just barely squeaking by. The NFC West has been a very competitive division for a few years now. Pete gets them to the fucking playoffs, and they're always, with Russell's MVP caliber play at any time, they're always a threat. I think, and again, this is really where Stephen A. Smith, I think, hit the nail on the head when he said it, is somebody maybe just needs to talk to him about switching it up because it's getting a little too formulaic. We know what's going to happen. He's getting predictable and to be frankly, a little boring with his play calling. So I can't believe I agree with that, man. He just 99% of what he says is so fucking wrong. But I do agree with him on that. I don't think you can absolutely not look at Pete Carroll as the issue here. I think there's some things that could get adjusted and fixed, but to flat out come out and say, oh, it's like, 3 years ago when they were like, Zimmer needs to go from the Vikings. It's like, you guys are fucking stupid and just want to blame somebody. You knew what you had in Zimmer. You had a possibility for a number one defense, a shoddy offense, and safe play calling. Well, that's taken teams to Super Bowls before. Ravens being a prime example of it when they went, what was that, with their fucking defense in Trent Dilfer?
2000.
Yeah. That was safe play calling, an extraordinarily number one, almost all-time greatest defense ever in the NFL, and kind of a shoddy offense. I mean, you had fucking Trent Dilfer. Now, in the conversation of Zimmer with that, Kirk's much better than fucking Trent Dilfer ever was. But, I mean, fans were calling for Zimmer's head 4 years ago. Do I think now more relatively, maybe it's time to start looking at him to go? Maybe. But, I mean, to do that to Pete Carroll after he's just taken the fucking Hawks to the playoffs majority of the time he's coached them, that's not a conversation you get to have. Not yet, in my opinion. So, well, that's all I got.
That's all I got, baby.
Yeah. You guys on bye next week?
No, I don't. Wait, actually,
I think you guys are.
I think we are on a bye next week.
I think we're only doing a little Cardinals football on Thursday then.
Yes, we are on a bye next week.
Wow.
They don't play until the 7th. They play the Vikings on the 7th.
Yep. Interesting. Well, that'll be a fun game to watch. And
it will.
I'm gonna try to con my way into watching the Cardinals Packers game on Thursday.
I will. I'll be watching it with you right now. I'm gonna comfortably sit in my Victor's Secret man thong here.
Is it the crotchless ones that they have on sale right now at Victor's?
Oh yeah, the 2-for-1.
Yeah. Always remember. Mm-hmm. Dead Zone at checkout, 69% off. Nice. All right. Well, as always, it's a pleasure, Michael, for joining me and doing this with me every week. And as always, if you're listening to this, catch us Podbean, Spotify, Amazon podcast. There's just pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast other than Apple. Yeah, other than Apple Podcast right now. I'm working on that, but pretty much everywhere else you can find us. You can also check me out at youtube.com/FlexLuther's I believe it is. Which I'll be uploading podcast video there and other content clips, hot, spicy takes, And then on TikTok at Luther_LEL. That's EL, like Luther _EL. Where I'll also be putting fucking clips and nonsense up there. So, other than that, that's all I've got for you. Appreciate y'all stopping by. Love y'all. And good night.
This is Chase Edmonds here, running back, Arizona Cardinals, number 29. Shout out Flex, Luther's Dead Zone. Heard you're a big Red Sea guy. Heard you're a big Cardinals fan. Make sure y'all go check out his podcast on Podbean. Again, it's Flex, Luther's Dead Zone. Thank you and go Cards.
Welcome to Season 2 of the Dead Zone Podcast featuring Flex Luther and the Real Hadouken. Buckle up, motherfuckers.
Oh my god, it's the Meme Daddy!